Everybody, thanks for joining us. My name is Mike with Voltage and Company, and this is going to be the first in a series of videos that is going to take an in-depth look at some features that I think are hidden gems. It'll be about features that you may or may not know exist, or maybe you're not taking full advantage of, or maybe you're just here because you're interested to see what some of these synthesizers can do. So the goal is to spotlight a handful of performance features that can be really powerful and expressive and just help generate new creative ideas. So the first video today is going to be about animation lanes in the sequencer of the Argon8 and Cobalt8 series synthesizers. So we'll talk about what they are, what you can use them for, and how to create and save them on both the hardware and the software. So I'll do a bit of a dive into what I did in the intro. And then we'll build one from scratch, and we're also giving away 20 animation lane sequences for free that you can download to use as a jumping off point. So I'm demonstrating this on an Argon8 today, but the same principles apply to the Cobalt8 as well. So the only difference will be some of the destination assignments, since Argon8 is a wavetable synthesizer and Cobalt8 is the extended virtual analog synthesizer. So what are animation lanes and what can you use them for? So animation lanes are essentially parameter locks that are in the sequencer that are separate from the modulation slots. So they're used to just change parameters over the course of a sequence. It's like having 4 extra hands to just automate knob turning on the hardware. So you can do this in real time. You can enter them in per step. Like I said, you can draw them in the app here, or you can just turn knobs on the hardware. So you can save up to 64 steps in step mode or 8 bars of real-time animations. They can be really precise, or they can be totally random. So it's a good way to just kind of revisit your favorite parameter changes that you find yourself using a lot, so you don't actually have to hardwire them in per patch. And it's a good way to just quickly enhance or manipulate or totally mangle the preset that you are working with. So like I said, these are separate from the mod slots, the 8 assignable that you have here and the 4 hardwired, and they're just added on top. So if you run out of modulation slots, like this patch here has all of the slots full, you can just kind of do this hack or bypass it by using animation lanes. So how and where do you record these and how do you save them? So it's important to note that everything is actually done on the hardware itself. The app here, which is available for Mac, iOS, Windows, Android, basically everything. It also comes as a VST or an AU plugin. So this is just an editor, and it's just reflective of what the synth is doing, so it won't tax your CPU when you're doing a lot of complex things with it. So since it is the animation lanes are part of the sequencer, they live here in the sequencer tab. And if I go over to the preset manager, down into the sequence bank, I see that I have 100 sequence slots that I am able to use. So you can save up to 100 sequences on board the synth itself. It's really easy to just import and export all of your sequences. If you ever make more than 100 or you need more than 100, you can always just swap them out whenever you're connected to a computer. So let's go back into the sequencer tab, and I'll show you a little bit of how I made this patch that was, or this animation sequence that was in the beginning here. So I will actually just pull up the synth so it's bigger, and we'll take a look. So you can start these sequences by hitting play. I'm going to actually change the ARP that I was using. We'll just do that. Now if I hit shift, I can see that I have 4 lights over here, and these are the animation lanes. So when they're all solid, they're all actually enabled. but you can also just mute and solo these in any combination from the hardware. So even though that sequence is playing, I have all of these muted, but if I say enable this first one, which is going to the cutoff, you can hear that. For animation lane 2, I did the resonance, so let's enable that. Animator 3 is actually affecting the onboard effects in the Argon8 here. So it's going to FX3 parameter A. So if I go here into the effects tab, I can see that FX3 is the phaser, parameter A is the amount. So when I have these bars drawn in, it will crank up that amount. So if we'll mute these other ones and just solo that. You get that subtle phasing on step 5 and starting on step 5 and step 13. For Animator 4, I actually just programmed in the tune. So dead center here is at 0 semitones. All the way up is 24. So I have tuned up 24, tuned down 12, tuned up 12, and then tuned up 24 again here. So if I just solo that one, so now if I just enable all of them, so that's pretty cool. Let's stop that. Like I said, it's a good way to just enhance a lot of your patches. So this is what it sounded like originally, and then with that sequence, you could really do some interesting stuff with it. It's important to note also that some of these animation changes, specifically if you're working with like filter or oscillator modifiers, for example, that you can have really wild and different effects across different patches. So like I said, since these are sequences, you can just audition them on any patch that's in the synth. But sometimes, since this is so deep, programming wise, you might be working with different types of filters or different types of oscillator modifiers that will give you really unexpected kind of cool results. So let's move on and actually just build one from scratch. So I'll go to the preset manager over here into the sequence bank. I will load up a new blank sequence. We'll make this one a step sequence, and we'll make it 16 steps. We're going to use the clock to drive it, and we'll actually be doing another video on these playback modes because some of them can be used in really, really interesting ways. So we want that to be clock. 16 steps, we should be good. Now let's go down into, this is the piano roll where you would enter in notes or a melody if you wanted. Let's go to the animations. Let's do something really simple. Again, with just like the cutoff. I'm going to load up a new patch here as well. So let's just do something like this where we just close the filter pretty rapidly over the course of 4 steps. Now if I hit play, that kind of reacts exactly how you might have thought it would react. You can do something like this with just like assigning an LFO to a filter. But since we're out of mod slots on this, that's not going to be possible for this patch in particular. So like I said, these are just a good way to bypass that limitation. Let me pull the app back up here so you can see this a little bit better. We'll go now into animation lane 2, and we'll do the exact opposite with the resonance. So the resonance is being cranked up as the filter is being closed. So that sounds pretty much how you would think it would. And then you have a ton of other ones that you could get into. I know that you can't see all of them here on the app on the screen, but there are plenty of destinations for all this stuff. So let's actually just go into a new initialized sequence. And this one will have real time. So instead of doing everything here on the app and drawing everything in, we will just record it live on the synth itself, and we're just gonna do it totally randomly and kind of see what we come up with. So I'm just gonna reinitialize this patch. Let's start playing the sequencer and also hit record. Now that it's in record mode, I can just start twisting up to 4 different knobs, and that data will be recorded on the synth, and you can see it actually in the app itself. So if I just start moving, say, cutoff here, I want it like that, and I'll stop record. That was just real-time recording. So now let's record, and we'll just do some other parameters. So we'll do wave 2 and wave 1, which will just scan through the wave tables. And we'll also do the oscillator modifier parameters, and we'll stop recording. We'll check and see that these got recorded. So there's wave 2, there's wave 1, and here's the oscillator modifier. Now I guess let's just see what it sounds like. So that ended up sounding pretty good for just some random parameters that we plugged in there. So say I like this, I'm gonna go to hit save, and I will call this random ANM for animation. We'll hit save. And now whenever I come back to this, those values will be saved in here. And you can try those out just on a bunch of other patches, for example. So let's try it on this one and see. So it's a good way to just add some variation if you find yourself stuck on a patch, or it's a good way to just on the fly use some of your favorite parameter changes that you find yourself using a lot. So we're going to be giving away a bunch of animation sequences. Those will be these ones that you see here. So we'll have a bunch of them that will just scan through the wavetables for you. We'll have some stuff that does filter and resonance, some stuff that affects the spread and the oscillator modifiers, filter morphing, and then a couple utilities that will just slightly detune your oscillators as you're going along. So I hope that was informative. And if you have any questions, please just reach out in the comments, and I'll do my best to try and answer you. If anybody has any suggestions for anything else that they want to see explained on either of these synths, I'd be really interested to hear what everybody wants to know about. And I'd also be interested to hear any animation sequences that users are out there making. So like I said, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thank you.